Thanks for watching Democratic Television, a program of the Santa Clara County Democratic Party that brings insights, perspectives, and attitudes of our always thoughtful Democratic guests. Today we're interviewing Steve Kline. Steve, thanks for being on Democratic Television today.
Thanks for having me. I'm very proud and happy to be here with you.
Well, great. And we're going to talk about you and your candidacy. You're a candidate for San Jose City Council District 6. The election is coming up soon.
The election's in June. There are 3 candidates in the race, and if any one of the candidates gets 50% plus 1, they are elected on that day. And given the status of the candidates, it's very probable that that will happen in June. So the election day is very important.
I see. Well, because you've got the endorsement of the Santa Clara County Democratic Party, we're talking.
Well, thank you. It was a very proud and happy day to be there. The endorsement process that the party went through, the questionnaires were very, very extensive, and they were very in-depth about the kind of issues that are facing San Jose voters.
Well, there's a lot at stake. But before we go there, I would like to get to know you a little bit more. So where are you from? Where'd you grow up? Did you have any interesting hobbies or pets?
I was born in Brookline, Massachusetts, the same place as John Kennedy. It was a little later than he was born. And I grew up in what's called the North Shore of Massachusetts, graduated from Swampscott High School in 1967. Went on to college, and in my senior year in high school and in college, I was involved in politics. And in fact, a friend of mine and myself had a political campaign management company. And we had a house in Boston, and we had one of these automatic typewriters that would print out letters, and it ran for 24/7, sending personal letters to certain voters in the city of Boston. Education wasn't really very important to me then, and so I didn't do well at Northeastern University where I was, and we decided to drop out. I took a year off, worked for a bank, in administrative kinds of ways, not in a teller but in the back room. And it was great, had a lot of fun and learned a lot. But then education really became very, very important to me. And so I applied to schools across the country, was very, very successful in getting into a very small college called Shimer College. I spent my senior year in Oxford, England, and took courses at Oxford and also did a thesis program at that time. I graduated 8th in my class out of 15. So I tell people I was either in the top 10 or the bottom half, whichever way you wanted it.
Got it. Not bad, not bad.
From there I went to law school, and I had a choice. I was accepted to Pepperdine University School of Law, and I was also accepted at the same time to American University School of International Service. So I decided the choice was between becoming a foreign service officer or becoming a lawyer. And for me, the sense of justice, the sense of helping people, the sense of dedication to that public service was important, so we went to law school. Had a really good time there. My freshman year, I joined the Student Bar Association, and was really impressed with some internal politics, but the most important thing was getting a good, solid education. I had an internship with the Public Defender's Office in Orange County, and then I was very, very lucky in my senior year to become what they called a student under the supervision of an actual lawyer. And this lawyer was in the process of just retiring, was going to get out of the practice, and so he allowed me and mentored me to do a whole bunch of good things, actual practical things.
Serious on-the-job training.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did depositions and interrogatories and all the fancy stuff the big guys do. Then when I passed the bar and took the oath to become an officer of the court, he decided that he was actually going to retire. So the other associate in the office and myself made him an offer that he couldn't refuse. So on the first day of my practice, I walked into a law firm that I owned with about 150 clients. My partner at the time, Timothy Larson, he did workers' compensation, applicant, and I did everything else.
Oh.
The first day, right after I was sworn in as a lawyer, the first day that I was an actual lawyer, I spent 2.5 hours in Long Beach Superior Court in a conference room arguing about a non-existent vacuum cleaner and a stereo system that didn't work. And there were many times during that 2.5 hours I wondered what I had done all the study for. But it was an enjoyable time. We had down there what was called a group legal service, and we helped a lot of unions, including operating engineers 12. And one of the most striking moments for me was that I was called to a house where a gentleman who had worked for Otis Elevator had asbestosis, a mesothelioma, and he was dying. And we hadn't done very many asbestos cases, so we took the case on. And next day I went to Los Angeles Superior Court to make an ex parte motion to have his deposition taken to preserve his testimony, because he wasn't long for being around. I walked in the room and there were about 25 attorneys. I had never done an asbestos case.
Oh.
And there were 25 attorneys in this Los Angeles Superior Court. And one guy stood up to me and said to me, "Elevator? Oh, this elevator, what did he was? An elevator operator? How could he get asbestosis from that?" And I said, "Look, sit down. This guy would clean out the elevators and fix the elevators as from above the asbestos was falling on him. So you sit down and shut up." And so that was an important moment for me, believe it or not. I saw the difference between arrogance, and I saw how that was not quite the same of really understanding what people were going through. Unfortunately, to make a long story a little bit longer, the judge didn't grant my motion at the time, but he said there were too many cases at the time and they couldn't get out of their system. And it was really tragic that this gentleman who was just doing his job had not been able to, had gotten this disease.
Well, I'm glad he was able to find representation and give him a little sense of dignity in all of this.
Yes, we were lucky to do that, and we tried as hard as we could to do whatever we could for him. I was in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, and Encino, and we lived in, that's where our practice was. And we stayed there till 1982. In 1982, we moved to Marin County, and the difference between being a good fish in a very big pond and being a great fish in a very small pond up in Marin was excellent. The law practice was the same, but it was a little different in the sense of every one of the judges knew me. They were your trust and your bond, your word, your reputation really mattered.
Right.
And so that was a different arena, and we had a good practice up there. In 1985, I started to get involved in politics in San Rafael and Democratic politics. 1984, did advance for a young senator by the name of Gary Hart, who was running for president, and got involved with a lot of very nice people. 86, I worked for a great woman by the name of Johanna Woolman, who ran for assembly and was key in her campaign. Not successful, so we learned what victory was, and we also learned what defeat was. The political bite had always been with me, and so
From those early days, working those machines, getting out the letters.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we operated a political campaign management company for about 13 years. Did a lot of parcel taxes for open space, for schools, and those needed 2/3, as you know, and still do.
Yeah.
And we were lucky enough to win 90% of those cases.
Oh.
We also did some things that changed San Rafael City Council, took an environmentalist and put her into office, and did the same thing at the Marin County Board of Supervisors. So we had a very, very successful run. And there was a headline at the Marin Independent Journal that called me the new guru of Marin County. which lasted about a week. So, politics is fleeting in some ways like that. But the business was enjoyable until it started to get a little nasty.
Oh,
And then, so after changing, we moved to San Francisco. I met my husband in San Francisco, and then later we moved to San Jose. He was very much enthralled with an Eichler house near City College, and so we moved into that. I was part of a law practice running, working in workers' compensation defense, but always understanding that human beings were on the other side and that it wasn't just numbers. And then we got involved. My next door neighbor started to see something that was happening at San Jose City College. And we started to get involved in neighborhood activities.
oh.
And that was important to see how neighborhoods could make an influence over institutions. And then there was this thing that was being built called the Bascom Library Community Center. And we just couldn't understand why nobody was activating and getting people excited about it. And so that was one of the openings that we had to get involved in democratic and neighborhood politics also.
So that was something that hadn't existed before, and someone came up with the idea, let's build something for our community.
Right. And from what I understand, I wasn't part of it, but from the historians in the area, they had worked, there was a bond that had passed in 2000 for libraries in the city of San Jose. And by about 2009, it came about that this was their time, that they finally were going to get it built. The community had worked very, very hard to get it designed. There was going to be a community center with it, the library, and also there was going to be a cafe that was open to the outside so that it would not be closed in like lots of the libraries are, lots of the cafes are in San Jose. And so there was an excitement that a nonprofit could do that and perhaps bring energy and enthusiasm to minorities or women-owned businesses and bring excitement to the neighborhood that way, as opposed to just burying it in the back of the library. So there was excitement and enthusiasm, but that was kind of dampened by some of the operations of the city after 2008 that said we don't have enough money for something called O&M. And I looked in all my law books and I didn't find any what that anachronism meant. And then someone finally told me, oh, that means operation and maintenance.
Oh.
If the city doesn't have money for operation and maintenance of buildings, then we can't open them. And I scratched my head and went, that's ridiculous.
Oh, boy.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Why?
You know what? On that note, we're going to take a little break. When we're going to resume, you'll answer the why, or you won't, but maybe talk about why you're running for city council.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Assemblymember Ana Caballero from the 28th Assembly District. I was born a Democrat, but I've been involved in politics now as an elected official for 15 years, and I'm here because of the Salinas Valley Democratic Club. 15 years ago, they came to me and said, we need you to run for political office, and 20 years ago they said, we need you to be on the Planning Commission. To get involved with your local Democratic club, you can call 408-445-9500. I encourage you, please get involved. We need you.
Welcome back to Democratic Television and our guest, Steve Kline. Steve, before our break, you were mentioning that Bascom Library and Center really wasn't much momentum to get it going, to get it excited about it. What did you do about it?
Well, one of the things that we did was we started something called the Friends of the Bascom Library Community Center. And it got people excited about the opening. It got them the completion of the construction, and they could start to see it, and they started to feel that it was real. And on December 15, 2010, they got a certificate of substantial completion, which meant they could have opened that library on that day to help the people. But they weren't able to, again, because of this thing, because of operation and maintenance money. And so there was no money. And we asked the president incumbent why we couldn't do anything and why we couldn't get it open. And all he said was, there is no money. And you know, no, when you say no to people, that stops the conversation. So we've worked and we've tried to get things argued and visible, and we think we're lucky this year. We're not quite sure positively, but the mayor has finally understood that this is important to the community. It was one of the sharp distinctions that made me understand that I wanted to run for city council against this incumbent who wasn't advocating for the needs of the neighborhoods.
So that's when you got a sense that if I don't step up, nothing's going to happen.
Yes, I mean, he's an incumbent. People sort of like went, I don't know that I want to challenge that. That's going to be a difficult race. But I talked to lots of neighborhoods in lots of different districts, and the story of Bascom Library was repeated in many other places, and in fact in so many places that I started going, wow, this guy isn't really doing the job. He really isn't reaching out. There are just so many instances where people wanted the city council to do something, and all they could hear was no. And again, people weren't empowered, the networks weren't built, the ability to, what we say, Steve Jobs said, the magic wasn't there to make things happen. And when people collaborate and work together, magic does happen. We don't know where anything all the time is coming from, but you've got to put the pea in the pod, as it were, to see that things start.
So what happened when you formed this group, this advocacy group? Did you find other neighborhood folks coming forward wanting to join that felt your enthusiasm?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the key parts about it was that we didn't concentrate on just opening the Bascom Library. Our slogan was open them all, because there were 4 new libraries that were going to be built within a 2 to 3 year period, and we wanted not just to do it for Bascom area and the District 6 area, but also for the other parts of the city. So we collaborated with other people. There was this group that we joined called the All Friends of the San Jose Library, great people, and they sort of like took up the cause to open them all also. Now, Bascom was always mentioned, and we made sure of that, but we were always saying, we've got to do this citywide.
So you saw a real need that wasn't being met by incumbents that weren't getting out there, working it, and talking to neighbors
Yeah,
about
very,
it.
very much so. And then, of course, the city did this thing in the last budget cycle of opening the libraries only 4 days a week. And that means that only one half of the libraries are open on Saturday. And I don't know about you, but kids use and need the libraries on Saturdays, and those papers due on Monday at the last minute. And not everybody has access to the internet. And
Yeah.
there is a digital divide in this country.
Yeah. And so your point is people can go to the library, link up, have that contact, whether they're homeless or their computer's down or whatever.
Yeah. And again, recently, in the past month, there was another issue in the Alameda Business District. They wanted to create something called the Alameda Maintenance Improvement District. They got a grant from the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and they were going to have vast improvements on that street. If you ride on it now, it's a shock absorber test track.
Yeah.
And so they were able to put this proposal forward to get the property owners to assess themselves a tax so that would be operation and maintenance for the improvements that would come to the Alameda.
You learned.
Yes. And what happened was several leaders in the business district and in the neighborhoods collaborating, working together, actually got a lot of the property owners to be there. Unfortunately, there was one property owner who was out of state, big corporation, and our council member didn't make a call, just didn't get on the phone and say, hey, I'm the council member. I'd just like to talk to you about how important this is for our community. Now, it may not have been successful. He may not have been able to get through the corporate morass, but more importantly, the ability to attempt it, just to try, just to advocate, is something that's missing in our district. And that's what I want to do. We need an advocate. We need someone who's going to fight for our neighborhoods. There's so many issues, and that's what we're missing.
So what are some of the other issues that you hear, because I assume you're out walking precincts, wearing down those shoes, talking to neighbors. What else do they feel that they're missing from their council district
Well,
leadership?
one of the big issues here in San Jose is the lack of police. We laid off police officers in the last budget cycle, and there's no opportunity, there's no decision this year to add any new police officers. While we all heard about the increase in murder rate last year, the real problem is in residential crimes. Mails being stolen, cars are being burglarized, homes are being burglarized. Even my house was burglarized. We were lucky enough not to lose anything, but 10 other houses on my street were also burglarized. So people just don't feel safe anymore. The other issue is that we keep complaining about workers and how they're the real problem in the city and that they need to give more and more back. Well, they have given a lot, and the morale of the city workers after being slapped around is pretty low. So one of the kinds of things we want to talk about is that our city manager and our executives ought not to be paid any more than the governor of the state of California. It's important that we don't sort of go into a bidding war for this high-priced talent that really doesn't do the job.
Well, the city does claim that they don't have the money, and you're right. They have said that the money can be found from the workers through the pay and benefits cutbacks, and they've tried to find a way to get something on the ballot before the voters. Why is that not a good idea? What's wrong with that approach?
Well, the real problem is that the city doesn't know where it spends its money. In fact, the San Jose city auditor said that she couldn't find all the contracts. She said that in an open public meeting. And every Tuesday...
These are worth millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what happened is during the city council meetings on Tuesday, they have this consent calendar. And buried in those consent calendars are change orders. And for all of the low bid contracts, what the contractors do is come back and say, gee, I need a little more money. And so basically those contracts get changed. And so all of this purported savings that we supposedly get with outsourcing may not be there because of these things called change orders. And so consequently, if they can't match up the change orders to the contracts, we can't really keep a good handle on how much money we're spending. So one of the key things that I've been calling for is a line item budget. 2 years ago, I was shown 450 programs that the city of San Jose has. Not one of those programs had any kind of metrics, either qualitative or quantitative. So we need some performance-based budgeting. We need to know what our programs are doing. Are they meeting objectives? I'm not suggesting that every pencil be counted or every piece of paper be counted. We don't need that kind of micromanaging, but we do need to know how we're spending our money, and that's really important. And right now, I'm not convinced that we have that.
So you're running on a platform of integrity, effectiveness, representation. Do you plan to have an open door policy?
Very much so. I've already given out my phone number to people. That will be my phone number. I think also that I'm going to have open office hours in the district. Granted, we're not terribly far from City Hall for most of the district, but a lot of our people can't get to City Hall, and they have problems that are going on right then and there. So I'm going to meet people throughout the district, not just to say hello at a social event, but actually to sit down, talk with them, 10, 15 minutes a person to understand the problems, to understand the needs. And what we'll do is we'll have a staff person there who will follow up on it and get back to the person. And if they're not answered, they'll have my phone number, they'll have my email address. We're gonna be a full service organization.
What do you think's missing now? It feels like there's a disconnect between the public and their elected officials and getting involved, and we see all this anger. What are the elected officials doing wrong that they could change to re-engage people and have them feel excited and good again?
Well, I think a part of it is listening. And I took mediation training, and there's a concept called active listening. And what active listening is that you show the other person that you really understand what they're saying. It don't have to agree with everything. You don't have to disagree with everything. And you don't have to solve everything. That's not what people are really looking for. But people want to feel that they're being heard. And when they feel that they're being heard, what gets established is trust. And that's important. We need that so much in government. And at the lowest level of government, which is the city council, where people have their real needs and real wants, that's where you need someone who you can really trust, that will listen to you and that will actually do something and not just give you 2 cents or 5 cents worth of time and say, tell me in one paragraph what it's all about. Sometimes people need to be told, listened to for a little bit longer.
So if people want to talk to you or they want to get hold of you, do you have a phone number you can share, a website?
Sure. My phone number is 408-490-0269. And our email, we have a website, www.stevekline2012.com. And I'm always available at steve@stevekline2012.com.
So you're getting more and more people excited about your campaign. When you knock on doors, you're getting the positives.
Oh, it's been really exciting.
Yeah.
And in fact, in the last couple of days, I've been at some elementary schools, and the parents sort of like were just enthralled that someone who's running for city council was actually there, actually listening to them, and actually trying to see ways that we could build the bridge between those two institutions. So I'm very excited, and I think we're going to be an underdog, but we're going to be an underdog until about 8:30 on June 5th, 2012.
So that's the goal, but absentee ballots will be out, and people need to pick them up and vote Steve Kline, District 6.
District 6.
Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks for watching Democratic Television. Give us a call at 408-445-9500 or visit our website, www.sccdp.org. Help make a difference, and we'll see you on the campaign trail.